What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. So, for this video, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. They just traded for James Harden a few weeks ago, and they just won their first game since acquiring him a few nights ago. So, Trevon, my question to you, have the Clippers figured it out, or did they actually ruin their championship chances?
I feel like one game isn't enough of a big sample size. We know in the league you're gonna have to string together games, but it is a good start for this Clippers team. Winning against the Houston Rockets, who have been proven to make a big jump thus far. I think they're one of the most young, exciting teams, but all in all, that's a great win, especially coming off of a 6-game skid, trying to figure things out on the fly with James Harden. There is a lot of offensive potential there. Just to start off, Russ's sacrifice, I think, is the main point and where all credit should go, at least for this first win. Just think about the change that Russ has had in his career over the past 3 seasons, including this season. Comes to LA, it's very questionable about the fit on that roster.
With the
Um,
Lakers.
with the Lakers, with the Lakers, and you think about him, LeBron and AD, how that's going to work. Gets off to a very rocky start, and it just kind of snowballs all the way up until the trade deadline of the next season. And immediately when he gets to the Clippers, you just see his effect come back, and people really start to appreciate his game again. He looks like he's enjoying the game a lot more. His specific skill is needed on that team. Credit to Paul George for being very outspoken about getting Russ on that team because he believed in him. And just seeing his career kind of, in a way, get revived. A lot of people were trying to write him off. Even me as a Laker fan, I knew Russ still had the ability to be good. It's just that wasn't really a good fit on the Lakers. So you see his trajectory go back up. You think with the Clippers going to training camp, having a full season of rest, that they can actually make some noise. And then here comes James Harden. James Harden once again gets his way, gets to another team. Things look disrupted. Ty Lue's trying to cram all the talent into that starting lineup, the four of them. And it's another topic of people talking about this isn't a good fit. And when people brought that up with the Clippers, you knew it was more of a discussion about between Harden and Russ. So Russ being able to take another back seat once again and say, I'll come off the bench because I've most recently been the person that's became used to coming off the bench. Like I said, this isn't the first time he's done this. He did that. He was willing to do that last season with the Lakers. And just seeing him come to this point of willing to give up his starting spot for the betterment of the team, I think that's where all credit should go. And I think that this does have potential because if you can have two offensive engines, the likes of Harden and Russ, to lead both of your group units, I think that does have potential offensively. I do think they still have some things to figure out. One, Harden's going to have to be a lot more engaged defensively. He's going to have to be a lot more engaged on wrapping up possessions. Too many times he's not trying to box anybody out and get the board. I think a lot of this is going to rely on Harden's willingness to play hard and compete in areas other than just running the offense. Defensively, he does have some moments, especially in the post. He's not a terrible defender in the post, but James Harden is going to have to try and be a better player than what he's been, not offensively, but just in other areas of the game. So the championship hopes is going to be solely dependent on Harden and his willingness to play an all-around game. I think that's what it's going to rely on, but I think Russ should get all the credit for this first win.
I agree with you there. And I'll start here. Me personally, I don't think the Clippers needed to make that trade. I really
Yeah, I
feel like
agree.
they were desperate. They felt like they needed another superstar or another star that if Kawhi or PG misses time, because previously in the past, they've missed a lot of time. So I feel like they felt that if something like that happens again, we're going to have somebody that we can rely on while those two guys are out, or if one of them is out, or whatever the case may be. The only thing is, I don't think they needed to do that because either way, you're still going to be dependent on Kawhi Leonard's health or Paul George's health, because those are the two best players on the team right now. And I just did not like the fit of adding James Harden there, because I don't think you really needed that. Now, the Clippers did have flaws on their team before they made the trade, and they definitely have a lot of those same flaws now. Ty Lue doesn't trust any of his bigs in the fourth quarter. He tends to want to go small ball. The only thing is, you traded away those players that allow you to do that, even though their minutes were dwindling a little bit, or they may not be as good as they were in previous years when they were younger, in Nicholas Batum or Covington or Morris. You still had those players that allowed you to go small ball because they were still big wings that could play that 4 position or the small ball 5. Now you're relying on players like Kawhi Leonard to guard bigs, aka Jokic, in their matchup against Denver a few nights ago. And I don't like that, because Kawhi already had injury history. Now you're asking him to bang with the big guys and then still produce on offense. Now you're asking Paul George to do the same. Now I even saw James Harden get matched up against Jokic in the post, and that was not good at all, because Jokic just took advantage. So
Yeah.
when you look at that, and then rebounding has been an issue, defensive rebound, wrapping up possessions. I think that the Clippers could have used their assets to get another role player, or another player, or a few other players that could help them in that small ball lineup, defend, wrap up rebounds, and things like that, versus getting another guy that is pretty much redundant in what you already have in terms of scoring. Scoring, I don't think that they weren't lacking that. Even outside of Kawhi and PG, you had Russ, who I think fit very well in that system early on because of his ability to attack the rim. He was pretty much what they needed, because everybody else were wings or guards that could either shoot or create their own shot for themselves in the mid range or on the 3-pointer. Russ provided rim pressure. He provided a guy that could push the pace and set up teammates very well, and he was competing very hard on the defensive end. So I don't think that they needed James Harden. They didn't need to make that trade, and now a lot of their flaws are still being shown. So I think they ruined their championship chances, in my opinion. They did figure something out this last game, and I think that they will win some games in the regular season, because they're just that talented. They'll still be I believe they'll still be in the playoffs. But when you go up against those teams that are going to be in your way to make it to a championship, I think they ruin that, because you're going to have to go through Denver. You're going to have to play against the Kings, who they've struggled with last year. And I think even this year, they're probably going to struggle there too. The Thunder are coming. Dallas has played very well. I don't think I like that matchup between them. And we saw how Luka,
Yeah.
what Luka did, and then also Lively again has played very well in that big man role. And you have Kyrie Irving to deal with. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we can go Lakers, we can go Suns. There's just going to be other teams that are going to be in their way that I don't think they're going to match up well with now, versus if they made a different move to get different players that fit better with the core that they already have. So
And even
that's
if
just
they
my
did
take
make
on
the
it.
championship, teams they're gonna have to deal with in the East.
Exactly. So will they figure it out? Did they do very well against the Rockets? Yes. Are they going to figure something out? Yes. I believe in Ty Lue. I think Ty Lue is the guy that, if anybody's going to figure it out, it's going to be Ty Lue. But I feel like the Clippers are kind of taking Ty Lue for granted, because he's had to deal with time and time again of something just being in the way of the Clippers reaching their potential. So it's just tough, man. And I feel for Ty Lue, but I think they ruined their championship chances, because the teams that they're gonna have to play to get there, I don't think they match up well against them now. So I think I ranted a little bit, but
I was about to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, y'all. This is the Trevor vent session. I think that concludes this segment of the. I'm just playing now, but no, I agree. I agree with you, man. I don't know what assets they still have after making that trade, but they're gonna need to reinforce something because the thing that was like hilarious to me was watching that game against the Nuggets, that in-season tournament game, and I'm watching Kawhi Leonard guard Jokic in the post, and I'm confused on what's going on. Like, why is this happening? I've seen Jokic dominate Anthony Davis, so what chance does Kawhi have? What chance does Paul George have getting switched on it? What chance does James Harden have guarding him? And like we said, you're clearly going to have to play against a team like the Nuggets, if not them, some other big team or some other team with offensive firepower that's just as good or maybe even better than what you guys have. So I do agree with you that they've ruined the chances that they do have. But the reality of the situation is they have the hand that they're dealt. They're going to have to figure out the best way to utilize this and try to create some kind of success. And I do think that they panicked. I don't think it was necessary either. I think that trade is a clear indication of this probably being one of the last few seasons of this current variation of this roster, because I believe Kawhi and Paul George are both free agents at the end of the season. I think Ty Lue, they're evaluating him unfairly, in my opinion. I think this was an all-in type of trade, but I don't think it was a necessary trade. I think they could have used those resources elsewhere that would make a lot more sense, in my opinion. So we got to give him some more time. Ty Lue said he needs about 15 games to figure it out. They finally got their first win. I think they've played about 4 or 5 games together since acquiring Harden. So yeah, time will just tell. But I don't think this current iteration of this roster is going to get it done as far as the NBA championship.
No, I agree with you, man. And I think you have some really good points of if they don't have the assets to acquire anybody that will help them fix or patch up the holes in the roster, then it's not going to be great for them towards the end of the season, into the playoffs and things like that, because they're going to run into teams who are, in my opinion, are just going to have the advantage in the matchups. It's just not going to be in their favor, and they're going to have to just overcome that over and over and over. So we'll just have to see, man. We'll just have to see. And I think you said the right word, panic. Desperate, maybe that's not the best word, but panic, I think panic is the right word. So that's just how I see it. And don't want to overreact too much to their first few losses and then now getting this win. But just from watching them play and watching how they work together in the beginning of the season, at the end of last year, because honestly, if Kawhi Leonard doesn't get hurt, I believe they beat the Phoenix Suns, and then that gives Paul George, who they said will probably get back into the second round. Who knows what could have happened last year? And even now, even though you do have James Harden, it's still going to be dependent on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being healthy. So, in my opinion, you're still in the same situation. You just kind of made it a little harder on yourself, in my opinion, because the fit just isn't there. So,
Yeah.
we'll see how it shakes out. And, who knows? Maybe we're wrong and they win the championship. If that's the case, then hey, I'll admit I'm wrong. But at this point, it doesn't look all that great.